Hope you're doing good. Micah back with another video. Back here with the official launch news of the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 6 Special Edition. And as you guys know, I've been rocking the Z Fold 6 for just over a month now, just about a month. And now that I have my own official perspective and experience dealing with a foldable, I have some interesting thoughts about Samsung's direction with these specs, because on one hand it sounds good, but on the other hand, this is exactly why Samsung needs to get it together when it comes to the innovation, because these specs should have been dropped for the Z Fold 6 in particular. And it's weird to see this kind of mid refresh for this foldable, knowing that these specs will probably drop for the Galaxy Z Fold 7 next year. So without further ado, let's get into the video. Shout out to Android Authority for being able to have the coverage on it, because that's what we're going to that's who's going to provide us the specs, right? And so, yes, it is confirmed. It's really just South Korea, maybe China still, but we'll see. But definitely South Korea. We also see that it is thinner and lighter, gets 200 megapixel camera. So the main shooter will now be a 200 megapixel. The other two cameras are still the same, but it is now enhanced, at least in one way, shape, or form. The back, as you guys can see by the photo, has this kind of stripped metal glass look, which may be aluminum or aluminium. But either way, there is a new color variant now, essentially for and there's only really one for this special edition. And in terms of the lightness and the thickness, or thinness, if you were, for this phone, it's interesting to see what Samsung decided to do here, because it weighs around 236 grams, which is about 3 grams lighter than the Galaxy Z Fold 6 here. And the thickness is 10.6 millimeters thick, whereas the Z Fold 6 was 1.5 millimeters thicker than that. So you're looking at 11 or 12.1 millimeters thickness. So for context, the Galaxy Tab S10, I believe, is like 5.4 millimeters, and this is running around that same length, or that same thinness when unfolded like this. So like this, it is just as thin as a tablet, or thinner than the most recent tablet. So that's pretty interesting to see that there. And one of the things I also noticed was the fact that the battery life is only marginally smaller, but still rated at 4,400 milliamps. So despite being thinner, the battery is largely unchanged. The battery, I think, it rates around 4,272 milliamp hours, but it is rated for 4,400 milliamps. So it's good to see that they didn't have to change the battery life. So we really shouldn't see that, as we see people kind of cover it, or if we can import it over here to the United States. It's good to see the battery life was actually not affected by the thinness of the special edition Z Fold 6. Now, again, in terms of the cameras, 200 megapixel, it still has the other two cameras. Storage wise and RAM size wise, that's where some additional changes took place here. It got upgraded from the 12 gigs of RAM that we have on the Galaxy Z Fold 6 to 16 gigs of RAM on the special edition. Now, I wonder why they needed 4 additional gigabytes of RAM. Is it because of Galaxy AI and needing that additional RAM to be able to host those resources and capabilities of AI? I wonder if that's partially what that is for, because I don't think that would be for the camera usage to have to need another 4 gigabytes of RAM. So it's interesting to see that they bumped the RAM up. Maybe they're just kind of going back. Maybe this is a slight look into them trying to rebrand or reposition themselves in the innovative world by throwing numbers at us again. So that's possible as well. But we at least see that 16 gigs of RAM is now the improved standard for the special edition. Will we see this with the Galaxy Fold 7? That's the question I have, because will we need it? Now, AI should again improve and become more sophisticated probably year over year. So we will need that kind of RAM on our phones to be able to host those type of capabilities. But interesting to see that they bumped the RAM size. And there's only one storage unit wise for the special edition, and that is a 512 gigabyte variant. There's no 1 terabyte, there's no 256 gigabyte. It's just a 512. I'm not mad at 512. I have a 512 here with my white Galaxy Z Fold 6. I typically go for the 512 if I'm running it as my main. And if it's not my main, I typically try to go for 256 unless then there's a deal where the 512 basically costs the same or less than the 256. And then in that case, I'll go 512. So 512 is like a perfect median spot, especially if it's a device you're going to run as your daily and the device you're going to keep going. So good to see that they definitely opted for that middle ground for the storage, but there are no other units for it. Now, in terms of the cover screen and the main screen, this is where it gets a little interesting. So the special edition's 8-inch main screen has a 20:18 ratio when unfolded. So I don't quite know what this one is in terms of the ratio, but I'm guessing it's not quite 20:18. But it's interesting to see that we're getting a 6.5-inch cover display. So this is now 6.5 inches, meaning that this is going to be a little bit wider, which allows for the inside to be a little bit larger as well, both tall wise and wideness wise. So you're going to get like about that much more additional space when unfolded, and like that much more space. You guys can see the measurement on my fingers is about that much more taller. So it's good to see that they at least have improved the cover screen and the main screen from that perspective. And the cover screen will have a 21:9 aspect ratio, which I think is better than not. And if I'm thinking about it correctly, it might even be a little bit more in line with the Galaxy Z Flip size in terms of, when unfolded, when unflipped, the aspect ratio is 21:9 there as well. So you're going to see some similarities, I think, from that perspective when it comes to the special edition and the Z Flip 6, at least in my opinion. Another upgrade that they have is Wi-Fi standard. So the Galaxy Z Fold 6 in my hand here has Wi-Fi 6E, and the special edition now has Wi-Fi 7. So they improved that there, and then of course it's running the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 for Galaxy. We'll have 7 years of updates and should be eligible for the One UI 7 beta that comes later this year. Otherwise, coming pre-installed with One UI 6.1.1. So in terms of price and availability, it looks like the price tag is going to be in US dollars, $2,038. In terms of Yuan, it is 2,789,600 won. So keep that in mind. Depending on your location and what you're looking at in terms of trying to import this, it's definitely gonna cost 2,000. So, hey, my main guy, the 1 terabyte didn't happen, and the $2,500 price tag, thankfully, didn't happen. It is much closer to 2,000 and a 512 gigabyte standard for the storage. So hopefully Samsung decides to maybe try and expand this outside of Korea into the United States, or maybe even the UK. But if this is something that's kind of more of like a testing thing, a testing period for Samsung, most likely we're not going to see this here unless we can try and import it. I think these details that we're getting with the special edition will end up popping out for the Galaxy Z Fold 7 next year. And I guess for me, since they're calling it a special edition, it is a special edition, not a fan edition. It's a special edition, meaning they're going to find the best that they can do with improvements that they can make and make it special for that reason. And so I guess from that perspective, the Galaxy Z Fold 6 special edition should have something special about it. And that's the cameras, that's the Wi-Fi standards, that's the slight sizing tweaking for the overall blueprint of the device. And I'm honestly not mad at it from that perspective, but I'm hoping that this is what kickstarts Samsung's innovative processes again to give us more bleeding edge tech, if you will, for a device that's supposed to be bleeding edge that can flip and fold, and primarily with the Fold 6 can fold. So not just paying for the fact that it's a folding device and you get multiple capabilities out of it, but the specs, the additional hardware, the use cases for it, it's got to make sense for that price point, because paying anywhere between 50, I thankfully with the deals didn't have to pay that kind of money for it. Like getting accessories and long term wise, I spent $2,000, but I did not spend $2,000 on this device in particular. And so if we're looking at spending anywhere between $1,500 and $2,000 for a device, we want the cameras, we want the battery life, we want the charging standards to be as high as possible. And that's one of the things I'm hoping Samsung brings with the next set of flip foldables is the charging standards increasing. We've had 45 watt for the slab phones for a while, and that still has not converted over to the flip and foldables yet. That needs to be here with the Galaxy Z Fold 7 and the Flip 7. Hands down, no debates, no buts about it. We got to at least have 45 watt charging for these phones here. And hopefully Samsung is no longer feeling burned by their own desires with the Note 7 series catching fire. Hopefully they moved on from that and they can get back to giving us good battery technology going forward. So that is the Galaxy Z Fold 6 Special Edition in a nutshell. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Is this something that you would have wanted to try and pick up? Would you try to replace your current flip foldable for the Special Edition? Do you think this should be a Special Edition? Do you think these specs should have came to the Z Fold 6 in general? And do you think they'll be coming to the Galaxy Z Fold 7? The comment section is open for discussion. But again, as always, if you guys haven't already, make sure to ignite the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell. It's all free. That one's for videos. So you and I can sit back, check, see who's cracking. And don't forget to hit that super thanks button down there by the like and dislike button, Cash App and PayPal, and check the channel out for all the videos available to you. That's where to keep tech fresh and alive on this channel. It's your man Micah signing out until the next video. Wait for it.